Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So this video is a very requested comparison. Now, I've previously done a haul of both of these handbags, so I will make sure to link that down below so that you can see a full unboxing and thoughts on why I purchased them in the first place. There's a big gap between them, so I will do a wear comparison in this video as well, but just be aware that it's not a fair comparison because this bag was bought in 2016 and this bag was bought in 2018. There's actually more than 2 years in between the two purchases. So of course the collage is going to be a little bit more worn, and it also intentionally has an aged look to the leather in the first place as well. This is a video about subtle differences because I adore both of these bags. They are both definitely in my top 10 bags. So rather than talking about each handbag separately, I'm going to talk about their different features together because I feel like that will make this video a lot more efficient. So first of all, I'm going to talk about size and drop. So these are actually really different. You would think, kind of looking at them, if you put them side by side, that they're the same, but they're not. And I actually did not realize that when I purchased the Loulou, that it was quite a bit bigger than the collage. Now, I still have to underline though that these are both sizable, medium-sized bags where you can fit a lot. So I fit gloves, an umbrella, sunglasses, wallet, a little bit of makeup, keys, everything that you need on the daily for work in both of these, no problem. I would say that in the Loulou, you can also comfortably fit a tablet or something like that that's a little bit more large on the diagonal than in the collage. Also because you have a little bit of extra width. So let me give you the measurements. Collage is 12.5 by 7.8 by 3.3. So the 3.3 is the width, and I think that's actually what makes the biggest difference. And then the Loulou is 12.5 by 8.6 by 4.3. So a full extra inch on the width side and on the height side. And together, I think those really do make a difference as well when combined with the fact that it's a little bit more of a slouchy bag, which brings me to my second point about the actual material used to create these bags. So the collage is lambskin and the Loulou is calfskin. If you're familiar with shopping for luxury handbags, especially I think the world of Chanel, the whole lambskin versus calfskin difference, and then even goat skin sometimes as well, is often discussed. And the traditional assumption is that lambskin is going to be quite a bit more delicate, and calfskin is going to be a lot more resilient, especially to scratches. I want to say though that with these two handbags, those assumptions kind of go out the door for me. There's something about the lambskin that has been selected for the collage that is super durable. So you can see, you know, even 2.5 years in, there's no visible scratches. So all that's really happened is that there's been a general relaxing of the corners, probably largely from overstuffing it. I don't super baby my handbags. They never meet the floor. That is kind of my only rule with designer bags, but other than that, I use them plentifully. I think there's like a little tiny scuffy scratch here, and then otherwise what's happened is that because it's already an aged looking wrinkled style leather that I actually like a lot more than Chanel's version of that, it's just worn so beautifully and just gotten softer and a little bit slouchier, but not that much. And I'd say, you know, has compacted a little bit as bags do with age. But even if you look at something that I touch really often, and I have relatively long nails, the handle has no visible scratches at all, and it's actually not particularly wrinkly. So I would say even though there is a difference of leathers, of materials, it doesn't really make much of a difference when it comes to these bags. I did have somebody comment about how there's some wrinkling around where the logo is attached here at the front. Apparently some Loulous, according to the commenter, don't have as much wrinkling as mine does. I really don't think that it's that noticeable. The quilting is a lot more substantial on this bag than on this one for several reasons, both because of the leather, because of the intended design, so there is more padding to it, and also because you can see there's a difference in the size of the chevron. So the chevron is a lot slimmer on the collège than it is on the Loulou. And so I think because it's got that kind of buttery, more kind of poofy aesthetic, you get a little bit more wrinkling around where the logo is attached potentially. And similarly, like you can see as the bag is used, there are a few little wrinkles that kind of happen throughout the bag, and to me they're just part of that quilted kind of smooshy padded look, but it's not something that bothers me. In terms of scratches and corner wear, it's got none at all, which is what really matters to me, is that a bag be durable enough, that the leather be like substantial and resilient enough that I can bring this bag to work. I've actually traveled with this bag to Toronto. I do put it in a dust bag on the plane, so it's not something that would affect it hugely. But I think you can even tell from underneath that it's not easily scratchable because there are no visible scratches underneath the bag. Neither of these bags have feet. I believe that the large Loulou, as opposed to the medium size, which is what this one is, does have 4 feet on it, but that size on my 5'4" frame would be too big, in my opinion. Moving to a higher level sort of outlook on the style of these bags, I think they have very different styles. When I think of the collège, I think of like an edgy schoolgirl briefcase kind of look. You know, it has a little bit of like a biker inspired look because of the aged hardware and the wrinkled leather. But then again, as well with the top handle, it also, to me, has always been a little bit inspired by a briefcase. And when I carry it like that, it feels very kind of business appropriate, but with a little bit of an edge. And that's something that has kind of made me come back to wearing this bag over my other bags, even over my Chanel bags over and over. I love how it adds like a tiny bit of edge to my otherwise very classic style. And if I were to purchase another collège in a different color or different hardware, I think that would be what would convince me to do it, because I think it does have that to offer, which not that many designer handbags do well. And I think the collège does that very well. I want to point out a feature that I really like, which is the back pocket. I believe even the smaller size collège also has that, although don't quote me on it. And of course the Loulou does not have that, so it's a more traditional flat bag that way. It does not have a back pocket, and so to some extent that may compensate for the size difference as well, for the inch that you lose with the collège and gain with the Loulou. The inside of the bag is a little bit different as well, although not very different, because both of them have an inside divider. Another thing that I think leads me to say that this collège fits less by quite a bit is that with the collège you have a large front pocket, then you have your middle divider where I usually put my wallet or passports or anything important like that. And then at the back, you have a very slim pocket into which I wouldn't really put anything very chunky. The reason being that as soon as you stuff a lot of things into that back section, that's when you get more of a rounded look to the bag and it looks a little bit overstuffed. So the bulk of your items do need to go in the front section for the bag to look aesthetically pleasing, in my opinion. With the collège is that even though the back section is a little bit smaller than the front section being very large and roomy in my opinion, it is bigger at the back, and I don't notice as much of a difference in the shape of the bag, probably because it's already relatively wide and kind of, you know, has that quilted, puffy kind of look. I don't see a difference if I kind of overstuff that back section as I do with the collège. So again, I think that leads me to believe that you can probably fit, you know, a tablet or an electronic device or something like that extra in the Loulou as opposed to the collège, or maybe, you know, another 2 to 3 personal items of medium size. Going back to measurements for a second, I think that's also going to be a really important factor in terms of which bag you select. So the collège, of course, ignoring the top handle here, but only looking at the longer removable strap. Another difference, these are not removable. This is removable, but for me, I always leave it on anyway, so I wouldn't consider that to be a very substantial difference, but the collège has a significantly longer drop. So it's got a 15-inch drop, a little bit more than 15 inches actually. So it's definitely longer on the body. Now that said, I wouldn't say it's too long. So for example, I've got a Gucci Soho, which is so long on me. I've always meant to get it actually, you know, professionally shortened, and I tend to wear it crossbody because otherwise it's too long. Same thing with the Celine Nano. Neither of these bags have that problem, but this one does have a longer drop, whereas the Loulou is more of a traditional kind of over the shoulder, around the middle of your body, general waist area kind of bag. So it's got an 11-inch drop. So I'll show you standing up what they look like worn together. The waist is around here, like my belly button is here. I'm 5'4", and so you can see it kind of hangs just below the elbow, where the flap hits kind of just below the elbow, whereas this one hangs underneath the elbow. And again, I don't think that this one looks like it's too long on me at all. It's just a different sort of look. Sadly, I'm not an octopus, so I can't really compare with a third bag, but I did bring out my Chanel single flap to show you what the difference is, because this one has, I think, just under a 14-inch drop, so it's gonna be somewhere in between. Can I sort of do this? Is that helpful? Probably not, but there you go. You can kind of see this kind of staircase-like effect, where the Loulou is the shortest, the Chanel is in the middle, and then the collège is the longest. I'm going to give you a few personal opinions now as well. I don't think this is, you know, going to apply across the board. I can't really explain why, but I prefer the Loulou with gold hardware. I think because to me it's more of a classic style. And I think it just looks really good with the way it's quilted and designed. So I've seen it in gold and black, and I think it looks wonderful. It does look very nice in the gray as well with the cool tone hardware, but I think those are my design preferences for the Loulou. And I have to say I do prefer it with cool tone hardware because I think that edginess makes more sense to me with the aged cool toned hardware, and because that's what I value design wise in this bag, that is also my favorite combination. I think it looks fantastic in gray as well. I really like that combination on this bag, and I think the smaller size as well is really pleasing. So this is officially the large size, and there's a smaller size that looks visually a lot more square. And I think if you favor smaller bags, that's a wonderful option as well. I really like it. I'm just going to hold up these two so you can sort of compare how size-wise they're really similar, but style-wise they're extremely different. And so I love having both and being able to kind of mix up how an outfit is finished and the overall style that you get, having both of these handbags. And they're two of my most frequently used handbags by far. And dark burgundy like colors just gets people really interested. Like, you'll get a lot of questions about it, like what is that color called, and everybody has a different name for it as well. I tend to call it burgundy. Some people even call this oxblood. I think it's lighter than oxblood. To some people it looks more purple, to others more red, and so I think it's just an interesting conversation piece, and I love that about it. All day it looks better than you would think with like a bright red, or less Christmassy than you would think with a green. It seems to just work. There's something about the particular tonal variation of burgundy that they chose that is dark enough that it really does work well with so many different outfits, and it does look so fantastic with a neutral outfit. But you can see I'm just kind of wearing it for a second. I'm wearing a color right now that I wouldn't necessarily say is particularly complementary to burgundy, you know, this kind of gray blue cashmere, and I think it looks nice. It really just kind of looks like an interesting combination. Wearing it since the middle of the fall, so around 5 months or something like that. I'm so happy with how it looks, and so it's not something that I'm super worried about babying it, so that won't happen. One last note is the difference in chain. So this one has a much more thick and substantial chain. These ones are much finer and more jewelry-like, but I think design wise, they balance each other out because you have the double chain on this bag with the double shoulder strap, and then you have a single chain on this one. So overall, the weight of them is actually very similar. I think if both of them got stolen or something like that, I would probably buy another collège first and get a new Loulou later. If I had to buy a third bag from YSL, I might consider getting the Loulou in gold hardware with nude leather because I think it looks really nice and really chic in that combination. And I would probably choose that over getting a second collège. So if I had to buy a third bag, I would probably get a Loulou, but if I had to buy them all over again, I would get another collège first. I know that's a divisive sort of sitting on the fence answer, but I'm gonna stick with it. So that is my review and comparison for my collège and my Loulou. I hope you found it helpful. If you had to pick one of the two, which one would you guys pick? Let me know in the info bar down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see my next installment on style, then make sure you give this video a like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!